Hi, Zizaran here with my TLDR of the 327 Keeper patch notes, and for me, it looks like a really good banger. I've already been very happy with the late state of Path of Exile 1. PoE is in a really good state right now, and they added so many quality of life things. We're getting a synchronous trade, and just a lot of cool things. So I'm going to talk about what I like about this patch and what I don't like in this TLDR. In general, though, I am very happy. I thought these were some really cool changes. The patch notes were very short, very surprisingly short, but in my opinion, the amount of stuff that we're getting and the amount of impact this is going to have on the game is very big. So let me go through all the things I like and dislike about this patch. So we're starting off with a Breach rework. Very cool. Made a video about this a few weeks ago or a week ago where I said it would be so cool if they continued an old season. However, they did tell me in the past that they were going to avoid something like this because, let's say somebody doesn't like Harbinger, they're not going to come back for Harbinger 2.0. They picked Breach, very universally loved league, and they are now doing a continuation of Breach. This is something I've talked about that I've wanted for a long time. Ever since Harbinger, pretty much. I'm very excited. It seems like they're keeping the spirit of Breach. You get swarmed, you have to kill loads of monsters, sometimes you have to do fortifications, and sometimes you have to kill bosses. But they have like a few new extra mechanics added to it on top of a lot of the things that we're already liking about Breach. They have like skin grafts or like hand grafts, so like you can stick on phantom hands that aren't yours, and you can have like, I wonder if Scry can make me have 4 hands for this, would be funny. But yeah, you can have a few extra hands. They have like loads of different abilities. It's probably going to be a little bit similar to relics or a little bit similar to some of the things that mercenaries could help us do. But yeah, you get it. The league mechanic gives you a hand. It can be defensive, it can be offensive, it can be a mix, and you can have 2 arms. There is a Genesis tree. This looks really exciting. A tree. And yeah, it's it has its own full skill tree, and you can breed items now and give birth to different items. Sounds very weird. Very interesting customization on like crafting, I guess, and like target farming, which sounds really good. I'm a big proponent of agency in games and being able to like choose what you're going to go for and farm. So this just sounds awesome. Sounds a little bit overwhelming for new players, but hopefully I'll be able to help you all with that and tell you what is good and what isn't if you don't want to like get into it yourself. Quite excited for that, but what really has me excited about the new Falborn stuff and the new breeding, obviously there is a mystery thing which I'm sort of hypothesizing is some form of legendary potential in Path of Exile, but there already is now a type of legendary potential with the Falborn uniques. They've basically chosen some uniques where one stat can be altered. So for example, on a Quill Rain, maybe the projectile speed can be AoE instead. A little bit similar to like replica uniques, how they're like sort of similar uniques but different in a way. And they have said that not every unique will be able to be Foulborn or be able to be spawned, and no boss uniques or anything like that. Quite a lot of uniques should have a lot of cool and fun outcomes. So I'm very excited for that personally. Excited to see what kind of build enabling uniques we can get. Because they did say like some uniques will have like the downside removed and added with the upside, so there could be some really special stuff. And that's a fun way of gambling in my opinion. Now there is a new foul, or I can't remember what it's called, but there's like a mystery breeder that they didn't say what was for. And maybe that is to upgrade boss uniques or make legendary potential on boss uniques or something like that. Now, legendary potential is a cool mechanic from last epoch where you're combining a unique item with a rare item and making like a legendary, a super item. And maybe this is Path of Exile's first attempt at that with that mystery thing. Whereas the Foulborn unique seems a little bit similar to LP, but you don't really choose anything. It's just RNG. So either way, very excited for the Foulborn uniques and also this new mysterious thing that they didn't really talk about. And there are new uniques and new chase uniques with Breach. They look really cool. Moving on to a new topic, there are new skills and support. Conflagration is one that looks super exciting to me. It's like explosive arrow light, but it's more like hit based. The dot part of it might not be that good. I'm very excited for this, surprisingly. I would like to league start that unless it looks a little bit sketchy on paper. I do want a really solid league starter. I'm going to be going hardcore trade because there is no boss kill race, and there's always a race, right? Just from the player base of who can kill the Ubers the first. But I don't really want to play SSF just for the race when there's no actual official race, when async trade is here, right? Like hardcore trade with async trade is such a fun experience. The first days you make so much currency as well. So yeah, I'm very excited for that. And there were like several new gems. I can't remember the name right now. Maybe Scry can like have it here in the bottom left. But there's a new like, oh, Wall of Force for one skills is going to be really fixing the problem of ones, which is single target. It makes a wall similar to old Frost Wall that you could hit that you will count as like the shotgunning and stuff for one skills. And there were a few new one skills too. A lot of stuff that just looks really fun to play around with. And yeah, new skills are always good for the game. Hopefully they are more on the powerful side. I feel it's a little bit pointless to add new skills for them to be underpowered. So hopefully they're a little bit more on the overtuned side, but we'll see. Now, one of the most exciting things about the patch, in my opinion, are the 10 new Bloodline ascendancies. Now, these are ascendancies that you can get by killing bosses like the ritual boss, etc. They have 4 skill points that you can pick and show some here now. They have like 4 points that you can pick. These uses your regular ascendancy points. So if you took that one and that one, you now only have 4 points to use on your regular ascendancy, which can maybe be off-putting to some players and be like, oh, that sounds shit then. There are several ascendancies, for example, Chieftain, where for several builds you only have 4 really good points, maybe a 6th, like the 5th and 6th being like okay, and the 7th and 8th being like, oh, this is just filler, I'm just taking small nodes here. And then these really shine. Another example being like the Elementalist might really benefit from the Golem. The Saboteur might really benefit from the triggering Autobots and stuff like that. And then the Bloodline Ascendancy can really come in and make something really special here. So we're seeing really cool things like Unleash now has +3 maximum seals, 5% more damage each time the effect reoccurs. So like a cool first example of something we've thought of that could be really good here, right? You run a double 5-ling on your chest. So you're having one spell where you're then now firing with Awaken Unleash. Is it 7 or 8 spells being fired? But then you have double firing, right? So like 8 spells, and they're both getting that huge damage boost from the 5% more damage. And then you have a suit of 5-ling with Unleash in your helmet. So you're doing like 8 cast, 8 cast, 8 cast. And should be really cool, both like some stuff for mapping, but also just like for bursting bosses down. Like the ascendancy here looks really cool, and you could pair that with like Elementalist for the Golem ascendancy. You could maybe do something with Assassin for like the poison, and obviously with this you're getting a lot of poison stacks depending on the skill. Like let's say that one of the unleashes is Spark, right? You're throwing down like 200 sparks instantly. There's a lot of potential here for these Bloodline ascendancies that make them really exciting to pair with 2 or 6 ascendancy points from something else. Like this one especially is really good with 6. Here you have like Rage. This one you have like stuff like very like Val related, Val skills related. I mean, again, I haven't thought of anything super crazy for this one yet. I'm not a huge fan of like the huge downside of these. Oh, actually, that's not true. One of the ideas here are like unaffected by poison, so you can use the Golden Rule Jewel to get your Chaos Rest capped very easily, and you could do this on, let's say, a Herald of Agony build that benefits from that anyway, and maybe doesn't use Utility Flask as much because they're not buffing your damage in any way. So now you're just running like 4 Life Flasks and a Mana Flask, or 3 life, 2 mana. Builds that run Tinctures will likely be able to have this with no problem. Some builds might not need an amulet as much for that +1 ring slot, and obviously +1 ring is quite nice. Toad's Price is definitely a really good one, just because the unaffected by poison, you still get poisoned, so the Golden Rule and self-poison applies to you. So some cool things, and these are only the ones we've seen. There are 10 of these, and there are definitely going to be busted combos here. So I'm so extremely excited for the amount of new builds we're going to have from those. I think TDD have been doing a really good job of doing a lot of exciting new builds at the end game. We had so many new builds last season. Forbidden Rite of the Soul Sacrifice, definitely one of the most fun ones, but I think this fixes a lot of issues with the game. Asynchronous trade is here. We finally have async trade. feels way better than I ever could have imagined. Logging in to like 50 to 100 divine orbs or any amount of divine orbs, just like having sold while you're asleep, is just such a good feeling. I just really enjoyed it in PoE 2. And be careful, there are like ways you can get like scammed if you're like trying to bulk buy things. People could list like one exalt, one exalt, one exalt, one divine, and suddenly you're out one divine. So be careful when using async trade if you haven't used it a lot. But it's such a good boon for the game. For balance changes, this was definitely like one of the lower impact. And again, they are still making changes for the patch notes. They're going to be updating this all the way until the last day before launch, because they are still working on this. So it's definitely a short patch notes when it comes to direct changes. Energy shield still absolutely horrendously strong, considering like Combs Heart has 1,000 life. Yeah, maybe we'll be able to remove the downside of has no sockets now and get like 10% life or something. People have been joking on Reddit, but like Twilight Valor goes 1200 ES and has defenses int, shaper influence stats. Like it's crazy, right? Like the difference between ES and life. So ES is still very much OP, and Ephemeral Edge is very likely still going to be an S tier build. Trickster is still very strong as well, although it did get a substantial nerf. A lot of people are saying Trickster is dead, but obviously the Energy Shield Evasion node is just so incredibly strong still. The other nodes got hit really hard. So could still see Trickster being used quite a lot just to be giga tanky on hardcore and doing ES stacking, especially on Forbidden Rite. Of Soul Sacrifice and on Ephemeral Edge builds. The nerf is definitely enough to like lower the percentage. They maybe even gut the percentage that play Trickster outside of hardcore. Poison looks really fun this season. A lot of different poison builds, especially Assassin. There is an Assassin rework as well. Wands looks super fun. This is definitely one league. Minion looks really fun. They've removed minion accuracy. That's huge. And there's loads of like minion love. Like you can get minion damage on helmet with Fair Essence now. Slams, melee, and Cyclone should be okay. I'm not 100% sure on Cyclone. I'd have to look into it more before I like recommend it. Bama got gutted. It lasts 5 seconds now instead of 20. It looks absolutely like horrendous to play now. It should still be okay on damage, but oh, that's rough, dude. Fissure of Snaking looked dead. Somebody would have to like play around with it and see how bad it is in practice, but it on paper looked dead. It is very easy, by the way, to over-exaggerate from something just being a patch note to being like, oh, this is completely dead and unplayable. I think that's something we as PoE players do quite a lot, but yeah, it did look quite dead from reading it. Forbidden Rite of Soul Sacrifice looked alive. From what we can see, it did get nerfed, the amulet, but yeah, it did look quite alive. Other changes that were quite noteworthy. When you die in hardcore now, you go no longer to standard, you go to suffer trade. So if you're playing this Keepers of the Flame hardcore, you go to Keepers of the Flame softcore. You do not go to standard anymore. On a personal note, this is really nice for the economy. Right now, we have a lot of people doing quick flipping by killing their characters and going to standard. And we will definitely won't eradicate the problem, but it will be better. So the economy on hardcore should be a lot better. And a lot more people are going to play hardcore now because they're going to play hardcore, try to get as far as they can to see how far they get. And some people will hopefully also enjoy playing hardcore. Be like, you know what? I don't mind that much that I died. I'm going to go again. And if they died and feel like it was bullshit, they were like, no, that was bullshit. I'm going to continue in softcore. So very, very huge change for TTT there. That was like an afterthought in the patch notes. And I didn't even know until somebody pointed it out. Suppression got nerfed. I think it's a 40 or 45% suppression mitigation now. But yeah, I was expecting something like that. I was surprised they didn't do 35%. Now, suppression is very, very mandatory, which I think is what I don't like about it. But also, that's also because we don't really have that much strong defense in the game right now. And it's all very energy shield based. In my opinion, defense is in quite a bad state. Not a huge fan of where it is right now. In my opinion, defense is a little over-policed in the game right now, where even if you try to specifically set up for like face tanking one boss, that's not always the easiest on like every class. Like, let's say back in the day, I made a character borderline immortal to Minotaur. I could just stand there and face tank, which I think is really cool. And somebody asked me that, how are you doing this? And I'm like, well, I'm standing still. Once I've stood still for 4 seconds, and I have this potion running, and I have like these charges up, and like all these like 10 mechanics come together, he, for the most part, unless I get super unlucky, can't kill me. And I thought that was really cool. You're obviously still at some risk from some moves from bosses, and you're still seeing the mechanics. I personally always thought that was a lot more fun than watching somebody go one tap the boss. And I guess that's my issue, is that it's very reasonable for a lot of different builds to get to the point where you can one tap the bosses, but it's pretty hard to get extremely tanky these days. And I don't know, I always think it's a lot more fun to at least like see the boss fight and be really tanky. And if somebody really wants to invest into defense, I think they should be allowed to. Whereas obviously that is quite tricky right now. So yeah, hopefully I would love to see a defense rework. I would love to see a lot more different types of defense in the game. Right now, it's a little bit rough, in my opinion. Like, for example, I kind of am thinking about like, oh, it'd be really cool to start Assassin on hardcore right now. But like, it's gonna be, there could be new League mechanic stuff and new Bloodline ascendancies that'll help with this. But without knowing that, right, with just like the current game, which is all I can currently make my decision on, I'm like, how am I tanking? I can maybe get tanky at the end game with energy shield, but short of that, how am I surviving on a life build assassin on hardcore right now? And you don't have that many options. So that is sort of off-putting to me. We'll see how it goes. And I think like this is more of a first week or two problem. Now, I have seen there are several streamers quite unhappy with the patch. Mostly because of juicing nerfs, like the Risk Scarab is nerfed. Abyss farming is nerfed. There's quite a lot of juicing that is nerfed. Tier 17s were a bit nerfed, I think, when it came to farming. And also buffed. You can have 8 mod Abyss, or sorry, tier 17s now. That doesn't affect me personally that much. And I do think it's a good thing when there is a lot of juicing in the game for the softcore players to have fun with. But obviously on hardcore, a lot of those methods end up being super, super rippy anyway. So it's not as necessary to have fun on hardcore to do all those juicier methods. That's the TLDR for me on these patch notes. I'm very excited. A lot of things I've been wanting for years and hoping would come in are here. And I think there'll be just a shit ton of builds to play and a lot of fun stuff to do. So very excited. Obviously, like, the game can always improve. The main things for me is just like, I just want more bosses, more chase. Oh, we're also getting new Ubers this patch. That's obviously exciting as well. But yeah, no, I just want more stuff and more defense is the main thing for me right now. And I'm sure there will be things I get frustrated about when I'm playing, and I'll be able to like do more feedback videos on things that I think should change about the game. But now, just seeing all this right now, I'm just very happy, very excited going into this, and excited to play and figure out builds. For those wondering, I will of course be posting league starters. I'll be doing not only collabs, but I will be also working with on builds myself and with my team to try to bring you as many good league starters as possible. So stay tuned for that as always. And yeah, thanks to everybody watching my videos and recommending me to people that are new to the game. Super appreciate it. I'll keep trying to make as good content as possible. Either way, sub if you like the video, but more importantly, try to die less than I do.